Hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Snap Judgments. This is Glazer, not Roy, and I am joined today by the one and only Gunny T as we're going to be going old school.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go rock and roll. The weather came in and knocked out my internet, so I'm pulling straight from a personal hotspot on my phone. We're gonna hope that it works well for us.
Gunny is my personal hotspot. You heard it here first. But speaking of hotspots, we are joined by the king of Marvel Snap Zone. Yeah, it's not you, Terrence. It's this guy. The king of Marvel Snap Zone, the meta tastemaker, the most featured guest ever, the return of the king, in fact. It's Den. How you doing, Den? It's great to have you back on. Den. Yeah, sorry, 2 in the morning as always for you. So Den, how you been enjoying the metagame?
Honestly, it's pretty fun. I feel like over like over the past season, they've done a much better job at giving us many decks to play. Like, there's always that better deck, and there's always a point where we solve the metagame and know what we should play to win. But I feel like in the past, when I would experiment, and in general, experimentation would get heavily punished. And I feel like there's more space for that right now. And for a game like Marvel Snap that doesn't have a lot of competitive incentives, I think it's really important.
That makes perfect sense to me. Den, if people wanted to get wonderful insight like that, perhaps in writing or in French, where would they check you out?
Writing, they check out Marvel Snap Zone and look for articles with my name on it. But honestly, they can also check the ones from other people. That's going to be just as well. Otherwise, if you're French, you can be on my YouTube channel, where I just basically say complete nonsense and hope people like it enough that they will stick around. And otherwise on Twitter, I used to share a deck per day, but my house said sleep is more important than sharing decks, so I'm slowly going back to that.
I would like it noted that if you are French Canadian, you are not welcome on Den's stream.
Of course you
only
are.
if you are actually French. That's not what you said. I heard you.
If you're French speaking.
Oh, French speaking. So anyone who speaks French is welcome. Okay, so
of course.
That sounds fair to me. Okay, please check out Den, the
if
last
you don't
two
speak
surviving.
French and you just want to do that moves like this and speaks nonsense, that works too, but you're just not going to understand.
That's fair. It's really entertaining. I don't speak French, but I watch, I don't know, once or twice a week. I just click on and go, hee, and get amused at whatever your nonsense you're doing and playing. Also, you're one of the last surviving Marvel Snap writers. Both Safety and I are on hiatus. Lauren is the slowest writer to ever exist. So, it's just you and Alfredo at this point.
Yeah, but I guess, I need this a little bit more than you guys, but I mean, it's been fun. I have my little rhythm, and there are plenty of games to play as well. So,
I mean, I love writing, absolutely love writing. It's so time consuming that I'm trying to launch the Pokemon channel now. Gunny is on that Pokemon channel, but I'm trying to launch the Pokemon channel, and something had to give. There was no way I could start a new channel and still be like, I'm going to write for 4 hours a week too. So
yeah. Yes.
All right.
I'll be on that channel whenever I can download the game.
You can download the game now. I'll send you the video.
No. You have to move. You have to move to New Zealand, and then he can download the game.
Yes, I know.
Okay, but the move can be very affordable.
VPN to do that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You couldn't find what?
I couldn't find a free VPN to get the right location.
We have a VPN that we can send.
No idea what anybody's talking about. Nobody uses a VPN. Everybody moves to New Zealand and they download the game.
They know.
Oh, yeah.
They're posting.
I'll do it.
All right. So when we're all New Zealanders, you can check out our new Pokemon channel. It's Pulse Glazer. If you just type in Pulse Glazer Pokemon, it'll be linked in the description of the video. But you can just right in the YouTube search bar, type in Pulse Glazer Pokemon and find 5 videos up right now. And another one should be up Sunday or Monday. If you're also interested in checking out Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube, that's our channel. And that's where, oh my god, Phil Woodward just started messaging me, and I did not go into streamer mode because I'm an idiot. Usually I have Roy do all the setup stuff and I can do that. And I'm like, what's dinging in my ear? Sorry, Phil. If you're listening to this, I am streamer moding you away. But if you're interested in daily videos where I post not one, but 4 decks every single day, check out Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube. And that this podcast is statistically likely where you're listening to it, so make sure you check out the rest of our videos. We have Twitter, but don't go on Twitter. Twitter is a hell site, and no one should ever go on it. And yeah, that's all I really care about. Oh, we have Patreon. Gunny, you want to do the Patreon part?
Oh, Patreon. Patreon's such a great thing. So what it really does for us is it allows us to run the Snap Judgments League, bringing you, now we're up to over 90 tournaments that we've run since February. So if you want to get in on some Marvel Snap tournaments for as little as $1 a month, then you can join us over on our Discord, which will be in the link to that will be in our description here. But we have such a fantastic time. We have some of the top snappers in the world that participate on that Discord. There are free spaces, even if you just want to join and hang out in the Discord and decide later if you'd like to join the Patreon. That's a great place to find us. And we're really crushing it there. I have something big coming up that came from the Snap Judgments League, the work I've been doing there. I can't really release anything, give you any information about it now, but just know there's something big coming up for the 2-year anniversary of Marvel Snap. Keep your eyes open.
Oh, cool. I don't know anything about this. Let's keep going. We're going to start by talking about our spotlight card for the week. It's Scarlet Spider. It's a 4/4 Series 5, 6,000 tokens, because everything is a big bad. Activate. Add an extra clone of this to another location. Let's kick it off with Den. What do you think of Scarlet Spider?
So far, I have not been impressed in the slightest by the card. I mean, there are a few decks that run it and find success with it, such as Lockdown or certain good cards decks. But like the thing is, you don't really build around the card.
Mm-hmm.
You just benefit from it, and you're happy about it. And that's kind of where it stopped. Like, if you have a deck that already has the ability to buff it, it's decent. If you don't have that, you don't really want to mess with the card.
Johnny?
I think this landed exactly where I thought it was going to land when we did our season our season card video, and it's just it's exactly what I thought it would be. It's just what deck really wants a 4/10 right now, and there's not many of them out there. I think this has potential, right? There may be a deck in the future, but I don't think that deck is right now.
I think this card kind of sucks. Its big problem is that Gwenpool is also a 4-drop, and like that's the best synergy this card has by like an exponential factor. And you can't go 4/4. Like, there's no Zabu to make going 4/4 a real thing you can do. You can't play it on turn 6, which means if you're playing Gwenpool, there's only one turn to play it, and very often there's other things I'd rather do on turn 5. Playing it on turn 4 is fine, I guess, but like I tend to like playing cards in my deck that make me feel better than fine, I guess. So no, this is an absolute no. Like, this is a card that everyone's gonna be like, it's okay, it's got potential in the future, and then in a month we're gonna be like, oh wait, they printed that card?
I think this would be pretty decent as like a 3/4.
Surfer. They're never going to make it a 3 because of Surfer. The whole reason it's not a 3 is that Surfer. Like, a 3/4 with Surfer, you just printed a 3/12, right? Like,
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make it like a 3/2, and that's gonna suck.
Yeah, they could make Zabu a real card, and then we could like have a playable version of this. But if they insist on Zabu not being a real card, then this is where we left. All right. That was a depressing card to talk about. Let's talk about something more interesting. Let's go to the OTA. Let's start with Hela. Hela became a 6/7 that now gives -3 instead of -2. How do y'all feel about Hela now?
Do you have a slide for this? Do you hit a slide, or are we just talking about it?
Yeah. We're on the slide.
Okay. I am absolutely
You're just
caught up.
Going slow?
Don't worry.
Yeah. All right. As long as you're uploading, my friend.
So the weird thing about Hela, I think, is that it is almost a buff to the card. With the exception being now you have to have Luke Cage in play. It makes the low rolls lower and the high rolls higher, which I don't think actually fixes the way the card feels. I think everybody hated playing against Hela because when it does the thing and it has the stuff go off, then it feels bad. So now if they high roll, they just have an extra point of power.
Yeah. Then?
I think that's actually a real nerf that now you're forced to play Luke Cage, because before the OTA, the best list actually had Black Knight instead of Luke Cage in the build. So the fact that you're forced to play the Luke Cage build means you almost only have Ella as a win condition, and that makes you kind of vulnerable to Cosmo, to Alioth, etc. Like, I agree, when it works out, the power on the board is very, very similar to what it was before, but there are more ways to make sure it doesn't work out compared to before, because it's more predictable. And in the end, that's how we beat these decks, is we benefit or like abuse the fact that they're predictable, and we just decided that we're gonna kill Ella today.
It's worse in some ways, it's better in some ways. I think at net neutral at the end of the day. Like, the decks wanted to run Luke anyway, and now they just have to run Luke. It's like, I think Hela's about as powerful as it was before this. It's slightly weaker, but like, no one was playing Hela because they wanted to win every game. They were playing Hela because they wanted to play Solitaire. And you're still playing Solitaire when you play Hela. Like, right? Like, you're saying, unless my opponent has exactly the right thing, I'm just going to do this thing that's going to be very powerful. Have fun. I think Hela is immensely boring, and I would like something else to happen to it, because I think that it severely limits discard's design space, and I sure wish it would go away.
Yeah, I think the one problem I've always had with Hela is that you never know how to snap into it effectively. There are obviously some board states you can create if you build to beat Hela exactly, but if you build those types of decks, and you're losing to a bunch of other stuff. So then you just kind of have to wonder, like, do they have Hela in hand? If yes, you lose. If no, then you might have a chance. It just makes, like, the cube profile for it seems really weird playing into it. Like, I almost never want to go to turn 6 with Hela. There's a lot of games, especially with my new deck, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But with that deck, with the disruption I put in there, that I end up retreating later on turn 6 a lot, just to find them also retreating.
Yeah, Hela's poop. I don't know. Like, it's just, the Hela discourse has become, like, so repetitive. I feel like, I know that there were 3 months that it went away, but I feel like we've been having this conversation since Corvus came out, and just slightly different ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, yes, Hela, we know what Hela is. Like, it's like when that, like, I know when I want a card to really change, like, because it was Thanos last time, where I'm just like, I don't know what to say about it anymore. We've had this discourse. Everyone knows what the problems are with this card. No one, like, thinks that this is the best deck in the game, but it's probably one of the top 10-ish decks in the game. Spoiler.
And
but
it's probably one of the most popular ones as well.
Yeah, and so, like,
it's just so uninteractive as well, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the main problem is,
I don't want to
like,
play an opponent who doesn't play.
They just have a turn 6 answer that says none of this game mattered until this point.
Yeah. All right. We're repeating ourselves. Let's go to other cards. I mean, let's take Symbiote, Spider-Man, Galactus, and Black Panther together, because they're clearly pushing a deck. So what do we think of Symbiote Spider-Man getting a power, Galactus getting a power, and Black Panther getting a power?
Where do you want to start with this? Din, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
I like that Marvel Snap has these kind of, like, just develop power. Like, it's a little bit like Ella. It's very annoying to face when they work out, but if you want to beat those decks, like, we know how to do it. We play Cosmo, we play Alioth, Cannonball works as well. Like, we have ways to do it. It's just they need to fine-tune it enough that it's not too powerful, that it's just super easy to play. And at the same time, it needs to be good enough that you're actually, like, enticed to at least try those kind of decks. And I think for now, we're at a point where they can keep buffing them, honestly. So,
ooh, spicy.
I mean, Symbiote into Galactus is a 13 power Galactus. That's good.
That's 13. Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, but it's
I don't know if they need more buff on that, though.
No, but I think it's good as it is.
Good is good? Are you sure good is the right word? Fun.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also.
Good? Like, it's
All right,
real telegraphed, right?
So I want to talk about Telegraph for a second as I bounce over here to Black Panther. So for a lot of times, cards going up to 10 power is obviously a buff. Black Panther being a 5/10 is pretty awesome. That being said, this Black Panther wants to do one thing, which is make more Black Panthers in other lanes. So you're either making a really big Black Panther with Wong, which was easily Shang-Chiable before, but even now, with simply Black Panther and Arnim Zola, that's 2 Impanauts on 2 different lanes. That is a very powerful combo all by itself. But now that being face up and vulnerable is actually a pretty key factor to counterplay. And I think that's really cool that they have that counterplay in there. And it might actually be a little bit of a nerf to Black Panther alone if you're not just wonging it immediately. I wouldn't say a nerf. A nerf is hard, right? But it just being face up and vulnerable does create counterplay for it. Because here's one scary thing: if you do Symbiote Spider-Man, Black Panther, they merge, and then you end up Arnim Zoling that's 68 power in 2 different lanes. That is a tremendous amount of power.
Yeah. Like, these things need to be counterable, right? Like, they're fine. It's a junk meta. Like, I don't know how to handle Galactus and Black Panther being big and good in a meta where, like, junk is the second most prevalent deck after Hela. This should beat Hela most of the time, except that if they get a Magneto at the wrong time for your symbiote, you lose. Because, like, it is very, very frustrating to be like, all right, so I'm going to Zola this, and then they have priority because you've played, like, 3 cards, and then Magneto pops up, and then your Panther symbiote Spider-Man is in another location, you lose. So, like, it's got an okay matchup into Hela, but it's got no game into junk. Like, a single White Widow late in the game, a single debris just ruins this entire deck. So, like, I don't know. Like, I just, this can't be real in my head.
I mean, it's kind of the balance of card games most of the time. A deck does something, another deck counters it, and a third deck counters the second one but loses to the first one, and you have a loop, and you just have to be good at either like playing one of the 3 well enough that you can mitigate the bad matchup, or always move from a deck to another so you're always like have the good matchup.
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot of answers to what this does, so that I'm not actually worried about it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that deck either.
Like double Shang-Chi.
Also, I do think that, sure, I mean, just single Shang-Chi is fine most of the time. But I think this is definitely a buff to Black Panther. Aren't you the Scar guy? Like, Scar,
Yeah.
like, this is now
I'm
a
not
card
interested in playing a 5/10, though.
Oh, okay. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't know if I want it in that deck, but if there's a version of that deck that goes tall enough, right? Like, I could easily see Panther being a card in it.
And like, I don't know if I'm the Scar guy anymore. Can we talk about Symbiote Spider-Man for a second and 99 Problems?
Yeah.
That deck has been the most fun I have had playing Marvel Snap. And me getting a point of power on my Symbiote Spider-Man for that deck is so cool. I have loved 99 Problems so much. I know you have a high win rate with it this season as well.
I did. I can't, like, without getting into detail, the last week has been rough for me, and I lost 5,000 ranks. So, I went from 1,000 to I'm now ranked 6,000, which is impressive losing this week. Yeah, I can't win a game no matter what I play. I just, like, I'm half distracted no matter what I'm doing. So I'll get back next season. Whatever. I was within the top 1,000 the last, like, 4 seasons in a row. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A lot of people are doing pretty well with...
White Widow was my winningest card this season, which I assume... Or White Widow in deck was my winningest deck this season, which I assume was that deck. Because what the hell else am I playing White Widow in?
White Widow in... You mean Black Widow?
No, excuse Black Widow. Yeah. Sorry, wrong card. Excuse me. Wrong Widow. I was just playing right before we started recording a White Widow deck, hence the mistake.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like that deck. Have you seen the deck 99 Problems, Den?
I think it was in the list of decks that
it's not in there anymore.
Sent me, but I haven't played it or like tested too much. But yeah, it's a Darkhawk deck.
Yeah, Darkhawk with Symbiote Spider-Man to back up your Darkhawk stuff.
Darkhawk is nice, but I think of it much more as a control deck. My wins are like generally like make them draw some shit or not let them draw and then shang the one thing they did draw. I win a lot. Or whatchamacallit, pull it over. 2099, the
20
card that they did draw.
People do not know how to play against 2099.
Well, they shouldn't. It's like good in one deck. So, but that like if ever a card just needed a real buff, that it's that card. But yeah, like it's perfectly. It's a very good deck. I wanted it to be on this list, but I couldn't put it on the list with a sample size of 2 players.
Sure.
Yeah,
More people need to play that list, though.
It looks like it's really close to. I think it was the week of Madam Web. Symbiote had a really good deck with Darkhawk, Ronin, and older like cheap cards that benefit from it. So there was like Korg. I think in the deck there was Silver Sable, Master Mold, Baron, but not Zemo, the other one. Mordo.
I like Mordo a lot. Yeah.
These kind of cards were in, and that was the best symbiote deck for a little bit.
I've also found symbiote to be really beneficial against clog. If you can just unclog a lane, like there are times I'll just symbiote spider into a rock to open up a spot.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think we beat that one up. You want to go Negasonic Teenage Warhead? Or are we going to go up top?
Wait, hang on. 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. I just want to note that symbiote is going to be good. Like, it might not be great right now, but I have very little doubt that symbiote is a card that will find its meta. Like, symbiote and Grandmaster and Absorbman, I think, are a critical mass of things that do the thing that you're trying to do. And Wong. So I feel like sooner or later they will find the right home. It will work out.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I found in this deck is with just 2 rocks put into the deck, and Cassandra Nova played on turn 6 and merged with the Symbiote Spider-Man and Grandmaster, that's a 21 power card that is then in the middle lane. Like that's a huge card. That's not a very hard thing to do. Just doubling up whatever it is that your deck wants to do.
9 energy invested into it.
Sure.
Yeah. So what I've been doing with symbiote outside of that deck is my personal favorite use is just Sage. Like, you don't usually need more than 2 triggers for Sage when you're automatically getting 7 power to it. Sage is incredible right now. Like, I really, really enjoy Sage in this meta. People are sort of filling everything, and Sage is very good against everything but Hela. But what are you going to do? Alright, do we care about Negasonic? I don't.
I'm playing it in arishem for fun, and it's pretty fun.
Negasonic in C3 seems really good.
Oh, I guess not.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but
am I coming through?
Yeah. But yeah, C3 is fine. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's meta. It's a deck that exists. C7 is where it's at. Do you know how to play C7?
C0. Symbiote and you symbiote
no.
Electro.
No, C7 is Hela. Because Hela is 7, and then you play a bunch of 10s, and all the 10s she brings back.
That works
as well. Yeah, they're all 7 too.
With Cerebro.
Because then they're all 10s. Yeah, it's not a good deck, but it's fun. All right, last 2 cards. Oh wait, we totally skipped War Machine. This makes sense, right?
Just War Machine should have one less power
because he's really good. Yeah, okay. Both of them are really great, and so they're 1 power weaker, because then you'll lose a few more games. They're both still playable. Is there a bigger take than that?
So there's a big deal deal for Marvel Boy.
Wait, Gunny? Okay. It's Ravonna?
So Marvel Boy losing a point of power is really big, because now it really makes it a Red Guardian target, right? So having your squirrels out beforehand, and having your Marvel Boy be able to be the same power as a squirrel in that lane for at least a turn was a really big deal. But now that it comes out with 1 less power, like, it's going to be the smallest thing on the board.
Okay. I don't know if I care, but yes.
I play Cosmo in Kazoo, so if you play Marvel Boy on turn 3 and they have to play a 3 cost on turn 4, which has a shot at being Cosmo, I'm kind of fine with it.
It's a good card.
Mean, if Red Guardian's meta enough for it to really, really matter, then, like, we can worry. You know what I mean? For the time being, though, like Red Guardian's not prevalent. You still play Marvel Boy. Once in a while, Marvel Boy gets hit. Okay. War Machine is 1 power or less. Once in a while, you lose a game by 1 power. Okay. Like, these things matter, but, like, they're not huge.
I will say that I do think
War Machine.
Wait.
I do think. Go ahead,
Gunny.
Yeah, I do think that
Sorry,
Marvel,
Shen was
like
in the middle of
Zoo wins decks by 1 point more than I think a lot of other decks do.
I don't know if that's true, but okay.
I agree with this, but typically not on the lane you play Marvel Boy. Like, Marvel Boy is the kind of card you play on the lane you don't expect to win most of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, if they put Gilgamesh as a 5/8, or like they hit Mockingbird again, or even like Khazar was back to a 4/3 or something like that, then probably. But you don't play Marvel Boy for his power. You play Marvel Boy for his ability. His ability is still there. I mean, I don't think we swap Marvel Boy out because of this nerf. It's slightly weaker, but Kazoo still takes you to infinite, and it's still one of the better decks for anyone that doesn't have like a huge collection or wants to play complicated decks.
Very true.
Yeah. All right. The meta has not changed. What we're fundamentally saying is the meta has not changed because of this OTA, or at least that's what I'm saying. This is the meta that it was 3 days ago, except that a few cards, like the win rates, will shift a few percentage points in each direction based on some buffs. Kraven and Hercules, we can take. I guess they don't go together because Kraven's use here is the card that comes out next week, right? Kraven is now a card that goes in Scream decks.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a deck for Kraven, but no one's gonna believe me. So
what is it?
Move Ramp.
Oh, I saw that deck. Yeah, I saw that on Snapzone. It's fine.
Completely stupid. It doesn't make any sense, but it's really fun when it works out, and sometimes it's important.
I honestly think the Scream deck is going to be a real deck.
I think it can be.
Like,
I think Kraven does fit in that deck.
So I think it's just Move and Clog. And Move and Clog go together really well. So, like, you use Stegron and these other, and Juggernaut and so on earlier than usual to try and clog a location. If you can get a location clogged, you throw, like, a White Widow in there. If you can get a location clogged, like, especially you're knocking things into that Kraven to clog the location, right? And then you win. Like, then Cannonball wins the game. This seems perfectly reasonable to me.
I mean, if we can finally play Kingpin, I'll take it.
Yeah. And Hercules is a 3/5 because everything is a 3/5.
I still don't think it makes it into the move decks.
I mean, they pushed move this season, so they're just buffing the cards that are not seeing play, which makes sense. I mean, Bounce was already playing it. Bounce will be happy it got an extra power.
Yep. Look, things 3/5 is just now, I think, the baseline of 3 drops. If the ability can be positive or negative, the card is a 3/5. So Hercules is a 3/5. Also, it makes more sense to have Hercules have more power just because he's Hercules.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
Role play, I'll take it.
Yeah. All right. Let us get to the actual subject of the day. We're going to talk about like 20 decks. We're not doing anything cool. There's a ton of decks. We're just going to rank them. So we're going to start with the first 2. I'll read them off, and then we'll compare them. I guess I'm not. This is Arishem Loki, which is you can cut Loki and run like a bunch of control cards. I don't really care. I just didn't want to populate this video with a bunch of Arishem decks. Arishem plus 11 other cards. In this case, we have Loki, Shadow King, Cassandra, Coulson, Shang, Enchantress Legion, Blob, Mockingbird, Alioth, and Magneto, with Arishem himself. Does anyone... let's start with Den, and then we can go to Gunny. Any thoughts about Arishem Loki?
I think the non-Arishem deck is better, but as we said, we're judging the archetype. I think it's still a top 10 deck in the game. I mean, it's still flexible enough. Its priority is really important right now. As we discussed with the OTA, they're pushing like kind of gimmicks, high power decks decks that you don't necessarily want to compete on points, but would much rather compete on disrupting them. And Arishem is really good at disrupting if it builds in that direction. So still top 10.
Yeah, I wonder if Arishem's play rate just dropped off, not because it's bad, but just because people got bored of it.
I don't know if it's bored, but first we got plenty of new things to do with it, and a lot of people have always loved Move and always asked for Move to be good. And the second thing is we played Arishem for like 2 months nonstop whenever we wanted to win. So they gave us something else, and we were happy to play something else, I guess.
Yeah, I think this deck's still good.
It's just that when Arishem was the most popular deck, yes, but when Arishem was the most popular deck, it was very easy to counter. Arishem is not a deck that can survive, I don't think, being the top deck in the meta. The nerfs have taken care of that because there's just too many obvious answers for it. Like, if Arishem gets too good, then people just start throwing Cassandra Nova back in their decks. They start throwing Darkhawk back in their decks, and then it goes right back in line. It's that Arishem is not seen as much that makes it so good, because Cassandra Nova's not in many decks anymore. Darkhawk's not in many decks anymore. The things that give Arishem trouble aren't really played. Arishem doesn't really give a crap about your clog decks, right? That are all over the place. It runs Shang and Shadow King, so it can at least potentially compete with Move. And the sheer number of times this week that Arishem has generated a Kingpin against my Move decks is insane. It happened no less than 3 times. I lost an 8 cuber to one that generated a turn 7 Echo on the lane I just happened to play my Tribunal into.
Oh,
Like, it's still Arishem, right? It's still completely stupid and does all sorts of bonkers things. But, like, the most bonkers thing it does is not be expected anymore. Alright. Yeah. We are comparing Arishem to Bounce. This is the classic Bounce. This is Barzy's version. It is Hood, Rocket, Sable, and Nico. And I think those 4 have just become the 1-drops of Bounce. Shadow King and Black Swan, along with Falcon and Kate Bishop. Sage, Werewolf by Night, Hitmonkey, and Beast. This list has 0 prayer of beating Hela. It's got play into everything else. It just depends on draws and timing.
This doesn't beat Ella?
No.
I'm pretty sure we play like Conquest games. I'm on this. You put anyone you want on Ella, I'm gonna ruin them.
Conquest, yes. Ladder, not enough. So if Hela goes off on ladder, you got nothing.
Well, I mean, I lose 1 cube at worst. And
sure.
Yeah, against Ella, sure. Like, if you don't know you're supposed to play only 2 lanes, and they only tell you, like, on turn 3, you've already started committing, maybe, but you still have Beast, Falcon, and, like, Black Swan to reposition your cards. But I think, honestly, against Ella, just play 2 lanes. And if you stack Werewolf and Sage in one, and, like, Hitmonkey, 2 Demons, and something big on another one, you'll do good. Also, cut Shadow King. It makes no sense in a list where half your cards are weak to it.
So, Shadow King is here specifically for the Move matchup. Like, it's the only chance you have of winning, otherwise Move just gets too big for you.
I can see that, especially if you're bouncing stuff out and it's like the first card you play out.
I mean, that's the logic of it. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's the logic of it. I'm curious if this deck can play Werewolf anymore if Scream is actually good.
Ooh.
Well, if Scream is actually good, you give them 2 power a turn. So that means you need to move like Werewolf 3 times a turn for it to be good, because the first time is cancelled. The second time you just equaled what you gave to Scream, so you need to move a 3rd time, so you actually won more power than you gave. That feels like a lot.
So if Scream is
that's what Shadow King's there for,
Werewolf
right?
is gone. Yeah, but like Werewolf's not getting that power back. It's steal.
I know.
Yeah, but Shadow King at least cancels it. But
yeah, it cancels out how big. It cancels out how big Scream is. You just wasted a bunch of like energy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you need to move it 2 times per turn instead of 3 times per turn. But you also have to expend 2 energies, and you have to be careful about where you position your cards and a whole bunch of stuff. So
can this deck survive without Werewolf?
And no.
Well, you can play Bounce Junk, but then it's more junk than Bounce.
between Eliath and Cosmo and Hela going off, this is the worst bounce has felt to me in a long time.
I completely disagree, but I think we have two very different visions of bounce.
What's your vision of bounce?
My vision of bounce is in this metagame where you have almost every information you need by turn 3 or 4. Bounce is one of the most flexible decks in the game, so just hold all your good cards until the end of the game except Werewolf, and on turn 6 you can just decide which 2 lanes you want to attack. The problem to that is Cosmo and Aliath, but you should know if your opponent plays those by the time it's needed to play around them or not.
That's fair.
So to me, at least, I'm not saying Bounce should win a lot of games, but Bounce should be in a position to win 4, lose 1 a lot of the time.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. But that's like just what Bounce does kind of always. That's why you play Bounce. You don't play Bounce for, I mean, except when Bounce is broken. You don't play Bounce for the highest win rate. You play Bounce because it's easy to steal cubes because people can't see how much power you're going to drop, and you can.
Yeah, but there are certain metagames where winning 4 is a risk. In this metagame, like the winning 4 is pretty safe most of the time.
Okay. I don't know if I agree as much, but maybe I'm not reading the metagame as well as you are right now. That's entirely possible. I have not had a successful week.
I'm playing arishem a lot lately, so you don't have to trust everything I say. I'm just playing for priority and playing Cosmo into people.
Yeah, look, Cosmo is incredible right now. Yes. So I feel like a lot of the best decks just beat this. I think arishem is better than Bounce right now, but I think it's close.
Yeah, I would. If I had to go in a tournament, I would take arishem. Like, I'm pretty sure like disruption is so important currently because I mean we're gonna see a lot of decks with a lot of potential. The thing is, the question is how easy it is to like cancel that potential. Right. And unfortunately, like at least a good like quarter or like a third of the metagame plays Cosmo plus Aliath. And so on turn 6, you're just shaking in your boots, like just pray you pick the right lane because otherwise you just lost.
Yep. Ooh, classic destroy. I like Aranya Destroy, and I like Destroy into the meta.
I really like it, but is it top 10?
Probably not. Like, it's definitely the least good of the things we've seen, but it's got good play into the top decks. It just loses to too much random bullshit.
Yeah, I think like Destroy is really good, but really fair, and a little too easy to predict. But yeah, I think like Destroy is one of those decks that can play into Ella because it's really easy to know do you beat their Ella or not. Right. So, well, I like Destroy. I think like if anyone just wants a simple like the same like the same synergy that you just leverage over and over, Destroy is a really good deck to do that right now. You just have to be disciplined with snaps and retreat.
Well, if they snap you on turn 3 and they have Pryos because they have Cosmo, and you should run.
Well, it depends on the setup, but yes.
Right, but you know what I mean. Like, if they're snapping it, odds are that the setup is...
Yeah, but now we have a Tuma.
That's true. Tuma does help. Depends what you have in that lane, but Tuma helps.
I think one of the things I really love about Destroy is it is like the easiest of the combo decks there are out there. And I guess combo / synergy decks. Like it's just a deck that does something. Whenever you play it, you can feel rewarded for playing well, but it's not too difficult to play either. I think it's just a very rewarding deck to play as a newer player, and it puts up good numbers. Like you can get to infinite with Destroy.
There's no way this is an easier deck to play than Hela.
I didn't say it was easier than Hela, did I?
You said it was the easiest of the combo-centric decks, and Hela is a combo-centric deck.
Sure. Hela is the easiest combo deck. Excuse me. I guess what I was meaning is like,
don't shoot the messenger.
You're right. But I was meaning out of like the combo decks are like doing things. Like Hela isn't doing things. I'm sorry. Hela's on its own little island.
It's discarding 4 cards and then bringing them all back at full power.
You're right. It's on its own little island. But like this, what I was meaning is like this deck, as long as if it gets rolling, like there's some games that you just cannot beat Destroy. They get the right combo of cards out there, and it's overpowering. No matter what deck you are, unless you have the counters.
Well, the thing is, the counter is just retreat for 1 cube.
Yeah.
Marvel Snap, everybody. All right. Discard Dracula. This is just the version Den picked. I refuse to play this version. I think that these are now better. I think the meta has shifted. I thought 2 weeks ago the collector versions were better. Now I'm pretty sure these versions are better.
Yeah, I just think like there's better things to do around the Discord synergy currently. Like since they buffed Moon Knight, since they buffed like kind of these satellite cards that never made it into Discord Dracula. I think more like complete, more flexible decks have emerged, and they're just better. Like so, Discord is really good for farming bots. I'll give him that.
It's the worst deck we talked about so far.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
also
agree.
there's a lot of Cosmo.
And also, I think
All
one
right.
of the things that Discard has always been challenged with is the lack of tech in it, right? You have Gambit to hopefully get rid of what you want, and then Moon Knight to hopefully make them discard something. Other than that, there is no tech.
Gambit got me for 8 earlier today.
It happens. You're
I
right.
was,
the tech is the tech.
No,
was
I'm not
supposed
saying
to be
it happens
Dracula.
every game. I'm saying it happened to me today. It sucked. I had a gigantic multiple man that I was going to move 3 times, but they had priority. And Gambit decided gigantic multiple man would be the perfect target.
Man.
So
yeah, Discord's always just felt like a points deck.
Yep. The thing is, it's supposed to be really good at protecting those points with like Swarm staying in hand or Dracula gaining it at the end of the game and stuff like that. It doesn't want to attack the opponent. It wants to hide what it can do from the opponent, but it's been doing it for like 3 years now, so everyone knows what it's doing.
Fair enough. All right, Toxic Evo. This is one of my favorite decks in Marvel Snap. Toxic Evo is so good.
I think it's a really good deck currently, and I don't know why, but I'm just happy to see High Evo back.
Mm-hmm. That's what I got to Infinite with.
Sure. I mean, we're seeing High Evo back, but we're like seeing High Evo and 1 card back. So it's kind of funny. But yes, we are seeing High Evo back.
What do you mean, and 1 card?
The only High Evo card in this... Oh, this one runs Cyclops, excuse me. The version I run doesn't have Cyclops. No, you don't.
And honestly, I'm not even sure I would run Shang-Chi if I was to run that deck. Maybe another High Evo card.
My highest win rate card was Abomination, and I run a version that doesn't run Shang or Cyclops. It's just running junk instead to give you some play into other things. Because if you
Pretty sure you
lane,
could run Wasp.
Yeah, I don't like Wasp.
I've seen list with symbiote in there. Pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen that too. So the version I run runs Hood, Viper, and Debris, and Goblin. So it just goes more in on
more
junk.
You're really junking.
Widow, Kate.
Currently.
Yeah, it's just junk. It's junk that says if I'll get a free Abomination and Ajax to end the game. Have fun.
Okay.
Either way, this is one of the better decks in the game, except that
definitely
Luke is all over the place.
I don't know where it'd be on the list at the end, but right now it's top 3 minimum.
I mean, I like it better than Bounce right now.
Yes.
So it's top 2. I don't think it's better than arishem right now.
Honestly, it might be top 1. I wouldn't be sure.
Yeah.
I think it depends. Honestly,
I have it above arishem, but not by a lot.
Yeah, like both decks just are widely different. So whatever you're better at is probably the better deck for you.
I mean, I think a fair amount of it is how much Luke is in your meta, too.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. Hell,
right, like,
I mean, honestly, the only problem of this deck is Ella.
Well, that's why I run the junk version, because if I can just clog one of their lanes, it matters an awful lot less.
Fair. But yeah, like above or behind arishem. I mean, I think at the end, both decks make top 10. So.
Yep. I have it above arishem for now. Any arguments with
that? Nope. This is what I got to Infinite with, and I beat arishem as well. I know it's not a deck versus deck, but like I didn't use arishem. I used this.
Yeah. All right. Meta Vanilla. This isn't going to make the list. This is I don't think Symbiote Spider-Man belongs in this. Oh shit! I didn't read the last deck. I'm not reading Discard and Destroy. They're the same decks. The Evo deck is Sable, Hazmat, Scorpion, U.S. Agent, Cassandra, Red Guardian, Cyclops, Shang-Chi, sometimes, High Evo, Man-Thing, Ajax, and Abomination. The Meta Vanilla deck, and I'm pretty sure Scarlet Spider is wrong here, but I had Wiccan missions to do. Kitty Pryde, Thena, Angela, Jeff, Mysterio, Juggernaut, Hope Summers, Shang-Chi, Scarlet Spider, Gwenpool, Mockingbird, and Sasquatch. All good?
Yeah.
All good.
Then how good is this deck?
How did it do for you?
I didn't buy Scarlet Spider, if I'm completely honest. First, because I don't think any deck needs it. And second, because October is way too exciting for me to risk Spotlight Keys right now. But if we're looking at stats, the deck is almost the same with or without Scarlet Spider.
Mhm.
But the thing is, Good Cards has been like solid enough to be in the meta for a very, very long time. But it's been a while since it like exploded and looked like dominant. And plus, with Move being very, very good, there's a lot of Shadow King currently. And if there's one thing Tina doesn't like, it's Shadow King. So I think the fact that the really good decks are using similar synergies to what it's trying to do are bringing counter cards which make it look even worse than it truly is. So in a different meta, it'd probably be top 10. In this metagame, I think it's going to be like close to 10 or outside of it.
I don't think it's even better than Discard.
Wow. Okay.
I think Discard just puts up too much stats for it. I think unless you get really lucky with Juggernaut and Shang, that Destroy can beat it. I just don't think that this is the meta for it. I think that
well, I also don't like the way it's built in the picture, and Get Cards is one of the most flexible decks when it comes to deck building. But I agree, I think if you want a flexible deck to build around right now, I would pick Arishem over this.
I pick almost everything over this.
Okay.
It doesn't go tall enough for the tallness of the meta. I feel like I can't keep up with Move because I want to run Shadow King to answer that, but I can't run Shadow King because of Angela and Thena, right? And I can't keep up with Hell. I don't know what I'm supposed to beat here. That's popular.
The Wiccan missions. That's
what. Sure, and I did. It just took a little longer.
Okay, then let's say it's top 10 in Wiccan missions.
Okay, it's definitely top 10 in Wiccan missions. I'm gonna. We're not gonna end up with this on the list. If it ends up being close, we'll talk. It is below at least Evo, Arishem, and Bounce, which are the ones that have real shots.
It's not even debatable. It's in the Destroy Discard group.
All right, Hella. I guess I should read Hella. Blade, Luke, Sif, Jubilee, Hellcow, Black Cat, Blink, Hella, Red Hulk. That could be Magneto. I don't care. That should be Magneto. I just grabbed the first version I saw. Who cares? Giganto, Infinite Death. Giganto could be Red Hulk. Magneto should be in it because Magneto is randomly wins games by moving dumb shit.
Especially in this Wong symbiote meta.
Yeah.
Play Magneto.
Yeah. Cut Giganto for Red Hulk is what you should do if you're going to do that. Because people are passing turns left and right.
And sometimes you blink into it.
Yeah. I don't know. This has to be in the top 10 because it's the thing, but it's not high.
This is going to be in top 10, and yeah, that's. I mean, the thing with Ella is, I think it's good for the game that these kind of decks are available. The problem I have with it is, why do everyone play Ella whenever it's good enough to be playable? This is what I don't understand with Ella is, I think we all agree, at least the three of us, that Ella is amongst the most boring decks to play. And I understand that sometimes people just want to make their quests or they're doing something on the side and there's reasons to play Ella. But I don't understand why every time it's playable, it immediately becomes the most popular deck in the game. That baffles me. Especially, and it's not like people just want to get to Infinite. Even inside the Infinite rank, Ella still is one of the most popular decks. Even in Conquest, Ella is one of the most popular decks. I need to speak with the community. Just send me 1,000 representatives, please.
I think my major the reason why I can't play Hela is because I get so tilted when things just don't end up in my favor. I could do the entire game plan right, and then my cards just land in the wrong spot. I do not like that experience myself.
Yeah, but it's like a contract that you sign whenever you pick up the deck. So
Oh
if
yeah,
you don't
I get it. I just get tilted when it happens to me, so I don't play the deck.
I understand. That's a very valid point. And I get tilted even when it works out because I spent like 7 minutes of my life, and I'm like, I have to do it again. No, please. I mean, I've played gimmicky, stupid decks that only have one game plan in the past. It's just that Ella isn't even creative. Like, stupid decks that come from an original idea, at least they're fun. Ella, it's really like, all right, I don't know what to play. I'll
Right,
pick
like
Ella.
the Agatha deck. The Agatha deck I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a gimmick, and it had literally one game plan. But because it lasted like 10 days, that was a fun game plan. Ella, you've lasted enough, and you're top 10, and I'm mad about it.
I still have nothing more to say about Hela than I did at the start of this podcast when we first talked about Hela. Where are we ranking this? Is it going above arishem? I think it has to go above arishem.
I would place it behind arishem right now.
Yeah, I'd put it behind arishem as well.
I think it's third right now.
Does importance not matter?
Does what?
Importance not matter. Play rate, like the fact that you're gonna see this a million games.
I still think the play rate or the win rate is. Which one has a higher win rate?
Arishem has a higher win rate. Hela has a higher cube rate.
Yeah,
that matters.
I mean,
I'm putting it below arishem because I just don't fucking like it.
No, I'm putting it below arishem because I think arishem is more flexible and wins the head-to-head. But
so
it's just different. I think
Christ.
it's just valuing different things in the deck.
So right now in top 10% infinite, I just hit on tapped up. The Hela deck that I said, the one that runs Red Hulk and Magneto, not Giganto. The Giganto one is 51% win rate with a 0.17 cube rate, but the fucking 59% win rate for the Red Hulk one with a 0.32 cube rate. Let's see what the best. Yeah, let's see what arishem is doing. Well, top 10% is the best arishem with. Let's get to something that has like a reasonable sample of games. My national sample of games is low. The best arishem with the higher sample is 52% win rate with a 0.4. Yeah, I don't think there's an argument statistically that Hela is higher.
Oh no, there was no statistics involved.
Yeah, I just think Hela is better. Like, it's the most popular thing for a reason. Like, the best arishem is as good as the second best Hela. I guess it's.
I thought the reason was because we're doomed as humanity, but okay.
I mean, a little bit of that too. I mean, there's a lot of like
begrudgingly
lower
we'll put it there.
Play rate. Look, it's just I don't want it.
Put it second. It's fine. And like you're trying to convince yourself of something you don't want to do. Just do it or don't do it. But it's fine either way.
Okay. Junk. I know you don't like this junk in particular. This is the guest gaming version. It's Hood, Nebula, Shadow King, White Widow, Hawkeye, Green Goblin, Debris, Viper, Shang, Darkhawk, Annihilus, and Cannonball. Annihilus should probably not be in this deck, but whatever. Everything else is very
shouldn't be in this deck, but
whatever. Junk is probably the best deck.
When played correctly, junk just poops on the meta.
Yep. Yep. Number one.
We're in a meta game where people want to do specific stuff, and you could play counter cards, or you could play junk and counter them all. It's just not this list, because you're not going to counter much.
This list counters just fine.
Yeah, but it's too slow. But I mean, I could rant about this kind of junk list forever, so.
Sure. What junk list would you say, Dan?
I would play a much faster junk list. I would play beasts, so I can actually get some points. And I would absolutely never freaking run debris because we have enough junk tools that we don't need rocks on our side of the board.
I love debris.
I know. I love debris as well. She's really cool, and that variant is really, really nice. It's just, at this point, junk doesn't need to junk more than one lane. Like, we have Cannonball. If you junk one lane, the game is over. I don't understand why we need debris.
That's fair. I just like redundancy. I want to make sure I draw it. Debris is also, it's worth noting that the junk I play runs Hazmat. We discussed already as an evolutionary deck that runs Hazmat and Ajax, right? So, like, my opinion is skewed.
So you're in the middle of both.
Yeah. Well, because that's like my other lane win, right? So, I get it. I do get it. I don't know. Whatever. Junk is number one. Any arguments?
No.
At least as of right now. Gunny? Nothing to add about
No,
junk?
I don't have any arguments. It's just so weird. I beat these decks, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, junk is the kind of archetype that if you play against an average player and a good player, you're gonna feel like you're playing against two entirely different decks. It's just like Bounce. Like, you watch someone play Bounce pre-infinite, and you watch a top 100 player play Bounce, and you think you've changed. Like, it's not even the deck; you changed the game.
I mean, it is reasonably absurd. I play for whatever reason, I didn't used to see Baby a lot, but Baby's been playing a lot of junk, and I keep just wandering into games against Big Baby, and he just like smokes me with junk. It's really ridiculous. But yeah, if you're good with junk, you're good with junk. Also, I like Titania a lot in these lists, and I miss Titania when she's not there.
Oh man, Titania is so good.
Titania is ridiculously powerful.
Yeah. No, Titania is the biggest crime in this list.
All right, let us move forward to. Honestly, this is the only deck I think it has a real shot at number one. This is the Move Lockdown. I'm going to read this list because it's existed for literally 3 days. Aranya, Ghost Spider, Human Torch, Iron Fist, Dagger, Madam Web. And now you're going, where's the lockdown? Storm, Cosmo, Vulture, War Machine, Legion, Alive. This list is rude.
Wait, why do we need War Machine in this one? Just for Storm?
Because 20% of the time you get a free win. That's it. 20% of the time you get 18% of games you go Storm, War Machine, Legion, and you just get the auto win. And you take your free 2 cubes. Because people are like, well, he's playing move cards, he's not doing the thing. Once the deck's known, maybe War Machine goes away a little bit, but for now it's there.
Okay,
also,
I've seen
this
that
deck doesn't like certain locations, and War Machine really does help with that.
I'm not saying we should remove War Machine. I'm saying, why do we have War Machine without the cards that it makes go nuts?
Because it's fine for Storm, it's fine for locations, and it occasionally gives you Storm, War Machine, Legion. Again, 18% of games, you see that exact combo, supposedly. I mean, mathematically, 18% of games, you just get a free win. You get free cubes. I actually like War Machine in the list more than Legion.
I know, I like War Machine a lot. I just want to play Ebonimo and Infinite.
I don't think you need to. You just put so much fucking power up with move. So the idea is that you get, like, the idea is, according to Sizer built this, the idea is that you guarantee a lane. If you Storm and you play War Machine, you fundamentally guaranteed that lane. That lane is one, your opponent cannot beat you. And then you have movers, so you win another lane. You have movers, and then you have Cosmo and Alive to protect them, so you win another lane.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think this list is complete. I have played this list very little because I haven't had a lot of free time. Although I did play a bunch today, I probably should have played this. Whatever. I watched Sizer play this for like 3 straight days. This list is stupid. Like, stupid good. It's like impossible to junk. It's really, really just hard to beat.
This deck looks really powerful. I think this deck would really only lose to itself.
Yes, it does lose to itself sometimes. Like, you draw, like all move decks, you draw the wrong half of the deck in the wrong order, and suddenly you're sad. But, like, that's what the 20% here is for, right? Like, because even if you draw the wrong half, you still have the chance to go Storm, War Machine, Legion, and just be fine.
I don't know where this falls with such little testing done on it.
There's not a little testing. Sizer streams 7 hours a day.
Sure. That's one person, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but he plays more than 90% of the population.
Yeah. Like, by a lot. I don't have this lower than 2, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's 1 for now.
You think it's 1?
It's always the same debate, but I think if we consider it's played perfectly, it's 1.
Yeah, look. Yeah, I could see that. I don't really have a good argument for it not being 1, so I could see putting it 1.
I want to play this deck.
I mean, it's not a really important 1, 2. We'll just make groups at the end of like top tier, second tier.
So
don't play this and Ella group alone.
Lockdown move is number 1 right now over Junk, Evotoxic, Hela, arishem, and Bounce. That's our top 6 right now. Then we have good cards, Destroy and Discard, which probably aren't making the list. Because here's another list that makes it. This is the just straight up move. Also, again, made by Sizer. Aranya, Ghost Spider, Torch, Iron Fist, Dagger, Web, Strange, Cloak. He actually doesn't have Cloak. He has something else in that spot. No, he doesn't have Doctor Strange. He has something else in that spot. Cosmo, Vulture, Heimdall, and Alioth.
Yeah, so it's basically the deck that we've seen, except the Strange Cloak, Heimdall, instead of the Lockdown combo.
Yeah. This is worse than I think this is worse than Junk and worse than Lockdown move.
It's less flexible, so it's more vulnerable to things. So yeah, I think it's 3rd.
Yeah, okay. We're going to call that just move. That is just classic old move. Any move thoughts, Gunny?
No, I don't really have any move thoughts. It's a good deck. I've been blown out by Alioth a couple times now since it started incorporating that card into the deck.
Yeah, I'm not very good with this. Look, actually, that's not fair. I had a 60% win rate with this list. I didn't feel like I was very good with this list. My losses felt like they were me losing. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like I was getting beat. It felt like it was me losing games. This is hard to play. All right, move bounce. This is our last move variant. This is the one that runs, look, I'm not going to read you the move cards again. They're the same move cards. This one runs Falcon, Beast, and Tribunal, and then it runs either Magic or Hercules.
I think this is...
Go ahead. No, please.
I think this is the worst of the 3.
Agreed.
Because you can make more points, but you're worse at protecting them. Mm-hmm. And your Vulture, be it 18 or 32, the problem is Shadow King or Shang-Chi. It's not like the fact that one deck has Vulture that loses to Infinite and the other doesn't is so irrelevant. Your opponent can or cannot counter you, and this deck does nothing against the counters apart from Living Tribunal. So to me, it depends if we want to rank all the moves. It's probably better than regular move, just because move is really, really good at the moment. But if there was one move deck that I think should not make the list, it's this one.
Let's not have it on the list in the interest of not having 3 move decks in the top 10.
Yeah.
So for now, I'm gonna put it below Bounce as the last thing. It's a better deck than move Bounce.
Yes.
It's a better deck than just Bounce, but we're gonna put it below Bounce in the interest of how many move decks are we gonna put on? They all play
in
very
the interest of showcasing a little diversity.
Yeah. This is another list that I felt like whenever I lost, it was me losing, not the deck. I was just like, oh, if I had just done that. Gunny?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the ability to not protect itself is what really hinders this deck. It can go over the top of pretty much anything. And that's the important part, is it can really just wreck anything until there's one piece of tech played against them.
So how it beats tech, that's what Magic is there for, and not Hercules. It drops, it does the bounce on turn 5. But then it doesn't replay everything turn 6. It plays Tribunal turn 6. And that's usually enough to throw priority, because now you have 4 power in each lane. And then you just sort of do all the stuff to end the game on turn 6.
Sure.
I'm just letting you know what the game plan is for that.
I mean, I understood that was the game plan, but just, I think it has potential to be blown out easier than the other ones do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Winning a game by 50 points is not the same, and not being able to protect yourself is still a loss, as opposed to a deck that can win by 10 points.
That's very fair. This is better against Hela than the classic one. Although the one that we have in first place absolutely hilariously face slams Hela. You have one lane that's Stormed, you have one lane that's Cosmod, you have one lane that's Arishemed. And you're just like, bye. Alright. Boop. This is, I named this style of deck Pixie Machine. It's a Pixie War Machine deck. This version is Sunspot, Nico, Hydra Bob, Maw, Pixie, Shadow King, Mobius, Red Guardian. Red Guardian should, I'm almost certain, be Hope. War Machine, Cull, She-Hulk, Infinite. What do we say?
I have absolutely no opinion on this deck. I've never seen it. I've never played it. I don't know.
It is way more consistent than it looks. And I don't think it's better than Bounce. So it would probably be around the... Like, I think it's better than good cards right now. Like, it wins way more than good cards. Having played a lot of both.
Pixie's another card that I just can't get behind. I feel like I want control over my game, and Pixie does not give me control.
So with this list, it gives you a reasonable amount of control. Because you don't really need the Mobius. You're just sort of looking for a slightly cheaper Infinite or She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't get the War Machine, a slightly cheaper Infinite or She-Hulk is often enough to just win the game.
Sure. I mean, I understand it. I've tried playing Pixie. It has the same problem that Cersei does for me. Like, Cersei's a good card, and I understand that. But it can, whenever it screws me, I get tilted.
Well, fair enough. I like this list a lot. I don't think it's top 10, but I like it a lot. We can move on then. Peef! The Jeep Peef! Aranya, Deadpool, Ghost Spider, Human Torch, Nico, Carnage, Doctor Strange, Hulkbuster, Multiple Men, Venom, Phoenix Force, and Zola. This is the best Phoenix Force list in the game. It's still a Masters list. Den, what do you think of this one?
I think it's a good list, but a very frustrating one, because it's the ultimate lose to yourself. But it's like, if you're disciplined, it's probably top 10.
Yeah, I would say this could go underneath like the High Evo deck.
I mean, I think it's got to be lower than the High Evo deck. Like, the High Evo deck right now is number 4. It's lower than Hela.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
lower than Hela.
Yeah, it's lower than Hela.
It's lower than Arishem.
Yes, I think it's like, what is it? Like, there's Arishem and then there's Bounce?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like up to Arishem, we have like tier 1, tier 2, or a very large tier 1. And this is going to be the second group, or the third group, depending if we split first group or not.
Right above Bounce. I can live with that. Alright, let us keep going to Darkhawk Stature Conquest. Everyone likes this deck more than I do. I don't think this deck is that good.
I don't like this deck because I'd play a different Darkhawk deck.
Are we talking just ranked? Are we talking rank plus conquest?
Largely rank is the focus usually. Just conquest only. I love conquest, but I feel like conquest only matters at all for 1 week of the season. The deck, by the way, is the Darkhawk Stature list. It's Hood, Ham, Korg, Nico, Cassandra, Moon Knight, Rockslide, Viper, Proxima, Darkhawk, Black Bolt, and Stature.
I don't think this makes top 10.
Only rank. The problem with this deck is when everything goes well, you win 1 cube. Unless you're willing to snap before Moon Knight reveals what you discard, or before Spider-Ham reveals what he hit. Whenever you hit a really good card, your opponent leaves, you got 1 cube. Whenever you don't, your opponent stays, and you have to play for the cube.
I think there's also a point output issue with this deck.
If it doesn't see Stature. If it sees Stature, it's a lot more points than it looks like. But when it doesn't see Stature, like, I really, really, really don't like this deck. Like, when it sees Stature, I feel perfectly fine. And when I don't draw Stature, I feel like, if I don't draw Stature or hit Proxima, I need one of those two things to happen.
Yeah. I still think it's a points output. Plus, it doesn't have any tech in it other than Spider-Ham and Moon Knight. I guess rocks do make a difference.
Yeah,
I mean, you could swap
and Black
certain
Bolt.
cards, like you can swap Nico around or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's in that group with like bounce.
Yeah, it certainly exists. I think it's below bounce and move bounce, and that's the bottom of the list right now. So it's going to kick Pixie Machine off, even though I'd much rather play Pixie Machine. All right. Boop. Classic Surfer. So y'all are going to yell at me, but this list is still really good. By the way, Nova, Forge, Brood, Surfer. I have Cosmo, Juggernaut. Those are swing spots. Killmonger, Red Guardian, Hope, Shaw, Absorbman, Gwenpool.
I think Surfer is a good deck. It puts out a lot of power. It puts out a lot of power in 3 lanes, which is kind of important as well. Or at least it has the ability to choose where that power is going, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Like,
I haven't seen Surfer almost at all this season, but it's always there. I mean,
But
I
is it
think
better
it's
than
somewhere in
bounce?
the competitive decks? It's just probably.
I don't know if it's better
I mean,
than
for the
bounce.
average player, yes. If I had to, like, if someone was telling me they were struggling with the game right now, I wouldn't tell them to play bounce. I would tell them to play
That's
Surfer.
true.
I'm good with the bounce, and I think Surfer is just really well positioned. Like, there's just not a lot Surfer. You can't build Surfer to answer. Whatever your meta is, you can figure out like what cards go in the swing spots of Surfer to be good.
And that is true.
Like, you have Red Guardian for move bullshit. You have Cosmo and Juggernaut for hella bullshit. You can add a Luke Cage if the toxic stuff is what you're dealing with. Killmonger does a great job of at least frustrating a lot of different versions of junk. Like, you can just get real tall when you see Gwenpool. I don't know. I think that this list is better than Bounce right now. And I love Bounce, but I think it's better than Bounce right now.
Yeah,
I think it's probably better than Phoenix Force right now.
I'm fine putting it in. Yeah, in that group, it can be high in that group.
Is it above arishem? Probably not, right?
I wouldn't put it above.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Fair. Then we have a spot. Our current top 10 is Lockdown Move, Junk, Classic Move, Evo Toxic, Hella, arishem, Surfer, Jeep, Peef, Bounce, and Darkhawk Stature. So Darkhawk Stature will be the next thing bumped. We are on to Wiccan Classic. This is not the classic. This is just the version I currently like best. We're going to do Wiccan and then Wiccan Gwenpool because I think those are slightly different decks. So Quicksilver, Hazmat, Shadow King, Hawkeye, US Agent, Luke Cage, Nocturne, Copycat, Shang-Chi, Mad Thing, Wiccan, and Ajax. I accidentally won a Infinity ticket testing with this, and this won 2 tournaments in a row. Like, this one card flips 2 weeks in a row. I think this list is legitimately very, very good.
How do you play a 2-drop in this deck?
You play Hawkeye or US Agent, and sometimes you just drop the Shadow King.
Yeah. Okay.
I very rarely just drop the Hazmat, but like...
No, that makes sense. I don't want to play Hazmat or Shadow King early.
Yeah, Shadow King's fine to play early.
What I don't understand with this deck is why are we going through the trouble of playing using energy every single turn for Wiccan when we don't need the extra energy to probably dump our entire hand?
Turn 5. So the way I've been playing it is generally turn 5. I go Wiccan, and you don't have to go Wiccan, right? Like, you can still play your game plan without Wiccan. But I go Wiccan and either Nocturne or Copycat. Sometimes Luke, but very rarely Luke. And then I close out with Ajax Hazmat together on the last turn. And if your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, right? And then you go Ajax Hazmat on 6, you won.
Okay.
I think that's fundamentally it, right? You can also,
it won 2 tournaments that are with a bunch of good players in it. It's obviously a good deck.
Yeah. I mean, what were the tournaments?
It's Card Flips. It's the online tournament that FAK runs. So like it's all the Team FAK players and just like random people, largely from Eastern Europe and Asia.
Okay.
Um, but it's generally speaking like top-ish players. I can find you some of the people who made it. Horizon runs the tournament, so he's who always posts it. Seeing if we know. Oh, Horizon keeps retweeting people, and now I'm struggling to find it. Nithiel finished in 4th place at this one with the move list that runs Goliath and stuff. There was a junk that you would like in 3rd place, but I don't. Mr. High, whose name I know, but I don't know, and Aklis in 2nd place. And then the week prior, as I scroll down, had Kazuma in 3rd place, and then 2 players I don't know, and the other 2. But like they're all real decks, like being played at this tournament. Like arishem, Surfer, and Hela were the others in the top 4 2 weeks ago, and this week it was the classic move, a pretty solid version of the War Machine Lockdown, and then Junk. And I really, really, really need to try that Junk. That Junk looks really good. So I'm going to keep that open in a different tab. But yeah, I think that this list is genuinely stellar. Like, I think it's probably better than Surfer and arishem.
Oh yeah, it's better than Surfer.
Okay. So we're going to say Wiccan ahead of arishem. Let's just call this Wiccan good stuff and let it represent the archetype. Ahead of Surfer behind arishem.
Sure.
Okay, I can live with that. I think it's got decent gameplay into arishem, but nothing crazy. It could really improve that matchup, just rank Cassie. Whatever. Safeties, Cobra Kai. This is my favorite current type of Wiccan list. I think that this is stellar. Basically what I want to do when I Wiccan right now, this was Safety told me this idea, and I've had a lot of success with it since he said it to me, is you go Wiccan into Gwenpool, and then you Gwenpool into 3, and then you just play all your big stuff to end the game. Like whatever Gwenpool hit, you just can play everything.
Yeah, I mean it feels like the old Sarah Miracles.
Mm-hmm.
Except they do it with Wiccan instead of Sarah.
Yep. So Kitty, Sable, Maria Hill, Nico, Kate, US Agent, Marvel Boy, Speed, Shang, Gwenpool, Wiccan, Alive.
It looks like a pretty sweet list.
Yeah, I don't know if we need this in a separate spot than the previous list. We can just call them Wiccan lists and keep them together. Is you guys okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, they're just Wiccan good stuff. The Gwenpool thing is brilliant, though. When you can go Gwenpool and Speed, or Gwenpool and Marvel Boy, like, it's just really strong. Any thoughts on this, Den?
I would need to try it. Like, I see the idea, and then I can compare it to a deck I know, which is the Sarah Miracle that we were all playing, like, at the start of Snap. So I can see the explosiveness, etc. I would need to try it to get like the feel for it, because all these Wiccan lists with like a low curve, they feel weird in the way they're built, and I see so many cards so that Wiccan can work, and I'm like, so what do we do whenever we don't draw Wiccan?
Well, Gwenpool. Like, the idea is Gwenpool here.
Okay, but like Gwenpool, like even if it's like a 4/12. I mean, is that enough to really stay in a lot of games?
So for this version of the list, what I found is because so what you're ultimately doing outside of your Wiccan cards is playing the best statted card, like even if it's not obvious at each cost curve spot. US Agent is probably the biggest 2-drop, right? Kate is one of the biggest 2-drops. Marvel Boy and Speed are the biggest 3-drops. And then but that means you should have priority if you're playing well, which means you should be able to allow to control the game at the end.
Okay.
That's the logic I've had for it. When I don't see Wiccan, I'm trying to play for Prio, for Alioth, and if I'm not seeing Alioth, I'm trying to like stack a lane that I know they can't compete in, so they have to try and go big elsewhere so I can shop. So far, so good. again, we'll keep these lists together. There's no point separating them. Kazoo.
Oh, man.
The most boring list in Marvel Snap, yes, including Hela. I said it. I hate Zoo so much. It is. I am happy it's good. I am so bored of Zoo.
I mean, fortunately, I'm not seeing it a lot, but yeah, Zoo
Getting
is
so much Zoo.
everything we want for a beginner's deck.
Mm-hmm. Is Zoo better than Surfer?
I think Zoo's better than Surfer.
Probably. Yeah, with Cosmo in it, yes.
Is Zoo better than Wiccan? Probably.
I don't know, you're the one that knows the Wiccan deck.
I like Wiccan more, but I don't know if it's better. Because, like, yeah, I don't know if it's better. Is Zoo better than arishem?
I don't think so. I think arishem is just the evolved way of playing Zoo.
Fair enough.
It's more flexible, and we don't have to synergize. We're just playing good cards.
Okay. I can live with that. Any thoughts on that, Gunny?
Yeah, I don't. Zoo's just constantly putting up points. Like, it's a very good deck, and it's one of those decks that you look at and you're like, "Man, am I going to lose to Zoo?" Yep, you are going to lose to Zoo.
Yep. The Zoo list is Ant-Man, Sable, Squirrel Girl, Dazzler, Kate, Marvel Boy, Cosmo, Shauna, Kazar, Blue Marvel, Gilgamesh, and Mockingbird. I am currently, just for the record, really, really partial to the Supergiant variants as well. I think Supergiant and Zoo is excellent. Absolutely excellent card right now.
Over what?
It's in the Cosmo spot. The Cosmo spot is the swing spot, which is very frustrating, but what are you going to do? Like, it's just, it gives you play into some things that you would otherwise not have play into.
I could see that.
All right. Oh, that's it. That's our top 10. Because Zoo is the end of the alphabet for obvious reasons. Duh. Our top 10 is number 10, the Phoenix Force list, holding on for dear life. Number 9, Surfer. Number 8, Wiccan Good Stuff. Number 7, Zoo. Number 6, arishem. Number 5, Hela. Number 4, Toxic Evo. Number 3, Classic Move. Number 2, Junk. And number 1, Lockdown Move. We all good with this?
Yes.
Yeah, looks great.
All right, then. Let us do variant of the week. Who picked this one on the left?
I did. Because it's a really cool one. Especially when you split it.
I don't even think I own it.
I didn't think I had it, and then every time I check Human Torch, I'm like, oh yeah, I have this one. And the border break of this variant is amazing.
I can see that, yeah. I haven't seen this one split before.
I mean, I can share my screen if you guys want.
Later on, after show. It is the middle torch.
Yeah, that was mine. I think again, this one looks really cool once it's animated, like just being zoomed in, all the fire moving and stuff. It's a very cool animated variant. That's why I chose it.
Nice.
It's also the most controversial variant ever, I think.
Yeah, the one that should not have won its election, which we're going to do again, it looks like.
But it's just an Attack on Titans kind of variant, and everyone's mad at it.
I don't know any of the stuff behind that. I just like the variant.
Yeah, fair enough. My pick is the Jacinto version, partially because I like the motion in it. It looks like he's actually flying with the flame trail behind him, and I like that you lose it on splits, unfortunately, but I like that Four Freedoms Tower is behind him. The Fantastic Four's home is right behind him. You can see it in the background. It feels very Human Torchy, and I really like Jacinto art. Also, that's a really nice banner.
That's another. That was probably my second variant I was going to choose.
Thanks.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Jacinto a lot. I like Jacinto's art almost always. All right, Den, why should people follow you?
Because I'm really quiet on social media now that I have to build a house, so I will not bother you while you do other stuff.
Fair enough. So, I don't think anyone should have Twitter, but I think everyone should follow Marvel Snap Zone and read Den's articles. If you're watching this video, you're one of there seems to be as far as competitive Marvel Snap goes, something like 20,000 people who really care. That audience follows Marvel Snap Zone, but there's also a lot of other players that you would not otherwise see that follow Marvel Snap Zone, which gives Den an absolutely incredible reach. So many people read his stuff. So many people follow his articles and decks. Whenever that tier list comes up, you see a million things from it. Whenever, he speaks and the meta moves. There's, I believe, 2 or 3 people in the game with whom that's true, and Den is one, and he stays up all night to do this, so you should follow him for that reason too. But go follow Den.
Yeah, now I have a real address, it's mine, so I'm pretty easy to find.
Alright, I'm gonna come knock on your door soon. Get ready. Alright, let us keep going. Certain tiers of support on our... that's the wrong order. Whatever. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. I'm gonna do this real fast, one breath. Epically, some manager, no cables, regardless, David G. Wingfield, Dire Wolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I'm Frostman, Jane Every, Corwin, Prime Brian, Brian Burke, Heretics Lee, Coy Ray, Black Dolly, Parafrost, The Gold Seeker, Demon Pumpkin, Archangel 3K, Quid Pro Joe, Doc, Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Brakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins, of the Danger Zone, Rob Silver, The Biz, Exocy, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, King of Bros, Grey Kazoo, Jessica Gum, Ryan Wood, Kevzuda, Ludacris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, Jim McHugh, Clam, 8th Stage, Mod Supreme, Auto Star Tater, Joe P, no who's no Joe K, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, J.D. McDonald, The Fuzzy Donald, Spectrum X, Hoot, Matt H. DJ, Mike Hutchings, No Flex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, Seamus, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Lorm Devs, The Parry King Tuccrr, The Homeman, and of course, Gunny T. Gunny T, thanks for joining me this week.
You are welcome, Aaron. Anytime.
What does the T stand for again?
The T's definitely stand for tournaments this week, and I can't wait to share more information in the future.
Ooh, yeah, I have no idea what we're even talking about. I guess I'll have to find out one day. Den,
Yes.
thank you so much for staying up late. As always, we missed you a ton while you were busy buying and building a house.
Having fun. It's always the same process. I'm like, why did I say yes? It's freaking 2 a.m. And then I'm like, oh, it went really smooth. It's now 4 a.m. and I'm more awake than when we started.
I tried to make it really fast for you. I don't know if you noticed, but I was like, let's keep it moving because I want to get you to bed. I know you got things to do. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm always having fun. And honestly, these kind of discussions get me out of stats. Sometimes it's just good to have opinions. I'm not for opinions for the sake of opinions, but sometimes it's just good to just even if you know it, be dumb about some certain decks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we all know Ella is good, but we want to be able to say bad things about it still.
With that, we're going to wrap this episode up. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.